For the longest time, the whole idea of UFOs was, well, it was pure fringe, right? Something you'd see in a sci-fi movie. But something's changed, big time. Suddenly, this topic is on the table, being discussed at the highest levels of government. But according to the source for this explainer, the documentary Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, the official story we're being fed isn't the whole story. So let's deconstruct what that really means. This quote right here, it really sets the stage for everything we're about to unpack. The idea is that, yeah, disclosure is happening, but it's not this big, open-armed reveal. No, it's being carefully managed. The official narrative is coming out with a very specific, and, according to this film, a very dangerous spin.
So, what is this big twist? Well, the documentary points out how UFOs, which have been conveniently rebranded as UAPs or unidentified aerial phenomena, have been completely reframed. The whole conversation has shifted. It's not, are they real anymore? Now, the question they want us to ask is, are they a threat? And you've seen it, right? This narrative is absolutely everywhere. We keep hearing about these mysterious objects zipping through our airspace, outmaneuvering our best military jets. The film suggests this is all part of a deliberate psychological operation, and it asks a really critical question. After all those decades of total secrecy and denial, why this sudden aggressive push for the threat story? Why right now? And that brings us right to the heart of the film's argument. The idea that this alien threat is being, well, manufactured, deliberately. And according to the source, this isn't some new idea they just cooked up. It's a long-standing plan, something the national security state has had in its back pocket for years, just waiting for the right moment to play that card. And they point to stuff like this, a pretty famous quote from President Reagan, as a kind of smoking gun. The logic is simple, isn't it? Nothing brings people together faster than a common enemy. The documentary alleges that this very concept has been a cornerstone of a secret agenda for decades. So what the documentary does here is lay out two completely different paths, two competing motives. On one hand, you've got the national security state. The idea here is to use fear to maintain control, to justify huge military budgets, the whole nine yards. But on the other side, humanity's potential. We're talking about a future of universal peace, accessing amazing new technologies, and fostering interstellar relations. So it really boils down to a fundamental choice, right? Fear or opportunity. Okay, this is a perfect example of how the exact same event can be twisted into two totally different stories. The film brings up testimony from military officials who saw with their own eyes UFOs deactivating nuclear missile silos. So, was that a hostile act, a threat to our security, or was it a warning? Maybe a message from a more advanced intelligence trying to stop us from blowing ourselves up? The film's point is, the answer you get depends entirely on who's telling the story. So, if the official channels are all pushing this threat narrative, what do we do? Well, the film proposes something pretty radical. The argument is, why should we wait for governments to give us their version of the truth? Why not go out and find it for ourselves? And this is where the core concept of the film comes in. It's called CE5. Now, a close encounter of the fifth kind isn't about just seeing a craft or its occupants. It's when we, you, me, regular citizens, proactively reach out to initiate peaceful contact ourselves. And the film lays out a specific protocol for this. It's presented as something anyone can learn to do. First, you meditate. The goal is to get into a really quiet, coherent state of consciousness. From there, you just send out a polite invitation for contact. And the final step is to vector them in. You mentally show them your exact location on the planet, kind of like a cosmic GPS. The philosophy behind this whole thing is what the film calls cosmic disobedience. And I love that term. They make a powerful comparison to historical movements like the Civil Rights Movement, arguing that real, fundamental change rarely comes from the top down. It has to come from the people, a grassroots movement bypassing the official gatekeepers to find the truth. All right, now this is where things get really, truly mind-bending. I mean, how on earth could a thought possibly travel across star systems? The answer, according to the film, is that the fundamental medium for all this communication isn't radio waves, it's consciousness itself. The film uses this incredible anecdote as a key piece of the puzzle. You've got the former head of Lockheed Skunk Works. We're talking one of the most secret, advanced aerospace groups on the planet. And when he's asked how interstellar travel works, he doesn't talk about rockets or physics. He answers with a question, how does ESP work? He's implying the two things work on the very same principle. that somehow all points in space and time are already connected. So, this is the really crucial insight. Think about it. If you want to travel between stars, the speed of light is a crippling limitation. It's just too slow. The film claims that truly advanced civilizations figured this out a long time ago. They operate on a whole different level of physics, one where consciousness is the operating system, allowing for instantaneous travel and communication across any distance. Now, you might be thinking, this all sounds pretty out there, but the film tries to ground it in decades of actual research. They point to places like Princeton's PAR lab, which studied how human intention affects physical systems. They bring up Apollo 14 astronaut Dr. Edgar Mitchell, who founded an entire institute to study consciousness. And of course, they talk about quantum entanglement, that spooky action at a distance that proves two particles can be linked, no matter how far apart they are. The argument is, this stuff isn't magic, it's a real observable phenomena. And all of this, it builds to the documentary's final and, honestly, its most powerful proposition. Because in the end, it's not really just about contacting ETs. It's about transforming ourselves. To explain how that's even possible, the film brings up this fascinating principle from quantum physics. And the idea is that for massive change to happen, you don't actually need a majority. All you need is a tiny, coherent minority. They use this amazing analogy from an experiment. You have a container full of chaotic, random atoms, but scientists discovered that when they got just 1% of those atoms to align and become coherent, the entire system instantly transformed. It became something totally new. And the takeaway for us? Well, it's huge. It suggests a small, focused group of people, all operating in a peaceful state of consciousness, could create a ripple effect that transforms our entire civilization. And that's what it all comes down to in the end. The documentary closes with this powerful, alleged exchange from way back in 1956. And it just completely reframes the whole issue, doesn't it? It suggests it's not about a threat to be feared or a technology to be acquired. It's a challenge, an offer being made to humanity. So the question isn't what are they going to do? The real question, the one we're left with, is what are we going to do?